So to start off, we have your page here. I'm just counting the nibs, making sure I have everything I need. You're going to want to start, you're going to have your big pen and your little pen. For me personally, I prefer using the bigger pen just because it's what I'm more comfortable with. Then also you'll have your inkwell, which you want to have on a surface that can get messy. Make sure you have your cup of water next to it for cleaning out your nibs and your brushes as you go on. And make sure to have a paper towel too, so you have that to dry off your nibs. As you can see, I have a whole variety. The one I'll be using is this Bowl Extra Fine nib, as that's just the one I believe has the best control. But you are able to use whatever nibs you would want to for this project. So yeah, you have a nice variety of nibs. There's some of the heavier set ones, and then some of the thin ones that you use with the thin brush. Like I said, I'm going to be using the Bowl Fine Point to get started. One thing you want to make sure of while you're working is making sure you're working from the top left to the bottom right. That is if you're right-handed, that is. If you're left-handed, it'll be the reverse, where you're working from top right to bottom left. This is just so you don't get ink on your hand and smudge your page. A few things to keep in mind while you're working. Um, as previously stated, you want to work from top to bottom, left to right. So for me personally, I like doing the farthest lines away from me and then working my way through the panel. The next rule is working with the finer details first, i.e. doing the wording of your speech bubbles first, and then going back and doing the character work. It's important to keep in mind how you want to do the coloring for your page as you're doing the line work. If you want to do the hatching method, you might be a little bit more loose. If you want to do a solid color with the brush and water, you might be a little bit more bold with your lines. It's kind of a personal preference. For this, I will be doing a mixture just to show both methods. So I'm doing a very loose line work for this example. As I finish up here, I'm starting to add these smaller details that I didn't get on my first pass of inking the panels. Uh, I've added some background, adding a few more water lines, things like that, just to add that little bit more now so you don't have to go back in later once you're in the coloring process. So to start the coloring process, you're going to want to start with erasing all your pencil work. This is important as the graphite doesn't let the ink sit properly on the page, so you'll want to get rid of it before you move on to your details. I start with some subtle coloring of the suit with the hatching. I then move on to shadows. For this one, I started with a deep block shadow to show the darkest areas, and then some light hatching in the environment to show the lighter shading. This is kind of this is to give emphasis to the figures and have that contrast with the background. Moving over to the coloring, I wanted to give the sky a nice lighter tone of gray, whereas the water itself is that much darker tone. The final step is going with the whiteout pen and fixing up those edges that may have bled over from the coloring process. It's also a good opportunity to add white to areas, to add new details to a scene now that you've had some shading. I've added the sun as the light source, and I want to redefine where that light is coming from, and those dramatic shadows are appearing on the figures. And there we have it, a finished panel of your comic page. I hope that you learned how to do this process, and I hope that you can apply what you learned in this video to your other panels, and then of course finishing your whole page. If you have any questions, I'll always be here to help, and you can always refer back to this video or find other videos on your own. I'm glad you made it through the video. I can't wait to see what your final comic pages look like.